Hi friends, thank you so much for tuning in today. My name is Colby Sharp. I'm a fifth grade teacher in Michigan, and I have a video series called One Question with me, Mr. Sharp. And in it, I ask people one question: authors, illustrators, teachers, librarians, administrators, booksellers, all kinds of different people. One thing that I'm dying to know from them. And in today's episode, we are going to visit fifth grade teacher Jake Burt's class. And his newest book, The Right Hook of Devin Vilma, is one that I'm dying to read because I loved his first book, Greetings from Witness Protection. So we're going to head to his classroom and I'm going to ask him a question. Are you ready? Let's go.
And that is how we manage being both a teacher and an author at the same time. Are there any questions? Yes, Mr. Sharp.
Oh, sorry, Mr. Burt. Sorry. Yeah, I do have a question. How does being a classroom teacher help you as an author? Sorry for falling asleep.
How does being a classroom teacher affect my writing? Great question. I teach fifth grade, and so my students are frequently a source of inspiration to me, primarily in the little things they do. When I'm creating a character for my books, whether it's a fifth grader, a sixth grader, or seventh grader, anybody in there, I look to my students in terms of the little mannerisms they have that make them uniquely kids. For example, I have a student who, whenever she reads, she takes the corner of the paper and just rubs it. It's just a little tactile thing she does, and I think that's brilliant. That's a little detail that I could use to add to one of my own characters, or at least use that as the concept to another little tiny thing that I think makes a character seem alive. And kids are so vibrant, so alive. It's also in the language they use. The way they talk to each other at lunch. Yes, they speak in run-on sentences. They use the word like 14, 15 times per paragraph, and you can't really do that in the text in your dialogue, but you can add a little bit of that there just to make the characters seem more real. And kids are big fans of neologism anyway. They'll make up words in the middle of what they're doing, and so I frequently have my characters do that as well. Also, being a fifth grade teacher allows me to be more in touch with kids' limitations, what they can do, what they can't do, what they're willing to do, and primarily what they can survive. Kids are more durable than a lot of people give them credit for, and so when you're sort of, as an author, looking for what you want to put your kids through, your characters through, you can put them through a lot. And the how I know that is, again, my fifth graders who are able to endure some pretty amazing things in their lives and still come out ready and willing to be students in my classroom. And every single day they come in with smiles on their faces and ready to work, regardless of what they've got going on in their lives. And that ability to compartmentalize is another critical characteristic for characters to be able to survive all the wild things we authors throw at them. Also, it's a great thing to have a reminder of who my audience is. I come in, I stare at my 19 fifth graders every morning, and I get to think, what will they laugh at? What do they find funny? And I get to sort of test all of my jokes out on them. If they think it's funny, great. If they just stare at me and scratch their head like, what's this guy talking about, then I know it's probably not something I want to include in a book. I can also see what moves them, what makes them cry, what makes them sit up and take note, what shocks them, what scares them. So again, they're sort of my guinea pigs in that regard, and as long as I let them know that they're willing to help me out that way. They're also great models, again, for language, for what's no longer said or done. They're constantly changing, constantly becoming new, so that a fifth grader 10 years ago is almost nothing like, linguistically at least, and even in terms of some mannerisms, a fifth grader today. They deal with social media in different ways. They approach computers in different ways. They interact with their teachers in different ways. And so I'm able to see all of that as I teach. And then finally, the last way that being a fifth grade teacher affects my writing is logistically. I can't just go home and write at the end of the day. I can't write in the middle of the day or in the morning because I've got my students. So I've had to adjust my writing schedule to fit my teaching schedule, because I'm still a teacher first. I've been a teacher for the past 20 years. I've been an author for the past 6. And I certainly don't want to give either one of them up. So I have to do all of my writing during the summer, over summer break. I can do revising, copy editing, little tweaks like that over the course of the year, as well as all the promo I do for my books during the school year. I sneak in Skype chats with people and things like that. But the actual drafting of a novel, I really need to do during the summer, because I need extended blocks of time. I need to be able to sit there for 3, 4, 5 hours in order to really crank out the text. And also, my students remind me to do it the right way, because I'm a model for the students. That I'm constantly modeling how to be a writer. And so if I ignore my editor, if I ignore any critique I get, or if I don't take it well, if I am kind of a belligerent jerk, if somebody offers me a review or a critique I don't like, my students are going to notice that, whether it's my response in the classroom or it's my response to somebody online. So it's a great reminder that you got to stay professional in everything you do, whether it's in the classroom in front of your kids or as an author interacting with other authors or readers. There's a certain level of expectation there that I think my students help me adhere to. So that's how being a teacher has affected my writing. And now a question for all of you. One of my absolute favorite things to do in the classroom is read aloud. And we all know the importance of read aloud to childhood development. It's been well documented. And everybody has their favorite sort of read aloud. Lots of people like bedtime stories because they're calming, they're happy, and they're sweet. Or they give a kid's brain something to chew on right before they go to bed. But what I want to know from you is, what is your favorite classroom read aloud of all time? And what makes a great classroom read aloud? What are the characteristics of a book that just works for kids as a read aloud in the elementary or middle school or high school or collegiate classroom? Thanks.
Thank you so much, Jake, for your amazing response. I love your question to the audience. So everyone watching, leave a comment down below. Let Jake know, what is your favorite book to read aloud to kids, and what do you think makes an amazing read aloud? For me, I love books that have all of these little details all over the place, and at the end, they're all just tied together beautifully. I think that is a skill that a lot of my readers struggle with independently, and they miss a lot of those things. And so when we're reading a book together and that sort of thing happens, for them, their eyes get so big and they're just in total shock and disbelief. And that happened in class last week when we finished up Tom Engelberger's The Strange Case of Origami Yoda. And if you haven't read that book, it's one of my 10 favorite books of all time. Probably one of my top 5 favorite books of all time. And to read it aloud to kids, which I hadn't done in a few years, and to see that end when everything comes together at the middle school dance, it just was magical. It reminded me why I am a teacher. It reminded me why we read aloud, and it helped my heart to just know that the stories that my students are carrying in them are going to impact their lives for a long, long time. So for me, it's when those pieces come together and unforgettable characters do unforgettable things. Strange Case of Origami Yoda, and another book that I'll read later in the year where those things tie together, which I think might be the greatest read aloud of all time. Yeah, maybe the greatest read aloud of all time, and that's Holes by Louis Sachar. Amazing. Leave a comment down below. We want to know what your favorite read aloud is. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have an awesome, fantastic, wonderful, stupendous, marvelous day. See ya!